Thank you for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. Love you all.
You know what else we love? We love Joey.
Our engineer Joey.
Yes.
Yeah, engineer Joey. He came in and he crawled under this desk. The YouTube viewers are probably like, why did a very large bearded man come into the room, disappear under the table, and then Dusty disappeared under the table with him? No hanky-panky. He was fixing our speaker, and I was assisting him in the only way I can by not assisting him at all.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah, which is usually how I operate with IT. I didn't break it.
It's like when I was a kid, my dad fixing the car. I'd be like, here, give me that wrench.
Yeah, he doesn't even do that. He's like, will you just get the hell out of my way? I'm like, hey, yeah, okay. Sounds like my wife. Shadeon Sharpe. Surgery yesterday. We got that right after the show. And yesterday, you came barreling into the studio and you go, buddy.
Bad news is a coming.
Don't have good news coming. And I was like, well, okay. We'll see how long this one takes to come to fruition. And it was a couple of hours.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. I got word that things weren't going too well. The Blazers were probably going to go down that path, but that no decision had been finalized yet. When he first injured it, I asked around the organization, hey, what's going on? I talked to Shadeon, and Shadeon downplayed it pretty heavily. For those that don't know, that period where he went off in the 5-6 games where he had like 25 plus points, he was dealing with it. He was dealing with that issue then. He was just playing through it. So everyone's like, whoa, he started to play bad and they were playing him 40 minutes a night. But no, when he was hooping, he was dealing with it.
Sounds familiar. We know a guy who did it for 5 years, not 5 games.
Exactly. And Shea just kind of wanted to play through it, and the Blazers, they slow played it, and they brought him back after he missed 5 games. I think it was 12 days. Was on a bit of a minutes restriction. Then he played in the Nets game, played 41 minutes, played really well. And you're like, oh, maybe this is coming. And then, ends up leaving in the Oklahoma City game and not playing since then. And he had been doing light workouts, and he had the check in a week ago. And I heard it was kind of mixed, but hey, we'll see where it goes. Organizationally, I had heard that if they were going to go down this path, they were going to just go. They were not going to mess around with it. They were going to not let it linger like Dames did for 4 years. They were going to address it, make sure it gets taken care of. And I've seen a bunch of people across Twitter and in my DMs and comments and things. What's with the Trailblazers training staff? What are they doing wrong? How are they doing this? And it's like, okay, number one, they've cycled through training staffs twice in the last 3 years. So it's an entirely different training staff.
But this is the fourth such surgery. So you got Dame, Nas, Sharpe, and
GP.
Oh, Gary. Payne. How could we forget?
So here's the thing, though.
I like to count it.
But here's the thing. Dames was over the course of essentially 5 years under a different staff, under a different leadership structure. Everything's different.
What's Gary Payton doing this year?
He's actually slated to come back for the Warriors here, I think, in the next couple of days.
Okay.
But Dames was pretty damaged, and he just kept playing through it, and managed it as necessary. Nasir, unfortunately, Nas's lower body's built like mine, and if there's an injury to find it, he was going to find it. That's just, some guys are just, it happens. Gary had 2 of those surgeries before he got to Portland. So this wasn't some, oh my God, he's got this issue. It's all Portland.
But what is this common around the league? You don't really hear about it all that much.
There were a bunch of them between 2018 and 2021. So it's not quite like the microfracture surgery where everybody was getting that, but it is something that has become more common, certainly. There was a group, I want to say 7-8 players.
What? But any idea what has led to it?
No, the folks that I have talked to in the medical industry about this particular injury, there doesn't seem to be a real consensus on the driving factor to it. But
just the Blazers' injury luck. So we can blame the curse, not the training staff.
Yes, exactly.
Let's do that.
Someone that I trust that is an orthopedic surgeon. This is his own expressed opinion, not anybody else's. He tends to believe that the overuse of, particularly with young players in AAU and how many games they're playing and how little time they get off. He thinks that's a precursor to this, but
I would say overuse is probably a good thing to point to.
Yeah, I don't think there's any studies or literature that this is, I think, more anecdotal in what he has seen. But from where the Blazers stand right now, Shadeon Sharpe has not had the surgery yet. He is going to have surgery, I believe, in the next couple of days. He is, from what I understand, going to the same facility and the same doctor that did Dame, Gary's, and Naz's.
Philly,
yes. The hope is, as I understand it, that he could be back before the end of the season. And, well, here's the thing. Everybody's like, well, let him rest. I totally agree. Don't rush him back. But if he's able to go, the number one thing all three of the other guys all said is they had to work through this. Like, you have to, the return requires pushing through some frustration.
Gary Payton.
Yes, and which was more than just frustration. It was, let's just say it, an earned vacation, he thought. But whether it was Dame, whether it was Gary, whether it was Nas, every single one of those guys that I talked to about it, they all said it was like, you just got it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's not the worst recovery, it's just something you got to push through some uncomfortable periods. So if he's able to go, let's say the final 3 weeks of the season, and he can use that as a springboard to kind of push through it and get through that phase, great. But I don't expect him to play this season. I think that's the default setting for this, is that you should not expect Shadeon Sharpe to play this season.
All right. And we've seen these signals, but they're becoming more and more loud and more clear of what the Blazers will do less than 23 hours from now when the trade deadline expires. Will the Blazers be active? Who will be the most active franchises at the NBA's trade deadline, which is set to expire at noon our time tomorrow?